the things we do or don't know about Dan Muse, the ones that stand out the most to me are strategic, schematic, philosophical. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Development is going to be a part of this man's coaching, regardless of any other team-wide processes in which the Penguins intend to engage this winter. What I mean by that is this. Very plainly, the Penguins need to become a better defensive team than they were in the 2024-25 season. That would apply unconditionally. That would apply if they were going for it, if they'd signed a zillion free agents. That would apply if they completely blew it up and went with nothing but children. Why? Because there's nothing about being as loosey-goosey as this team was, in particular for the first 2 months of last season, that's beneficial to anything or to anybody. So yeah, you want to instill a system. You want to instill an identity. And you want it to be, and I say this with immense respect, something beyond, yeah, it's Sidney Crosby's team. Of course it's Sidney Crosby's team. But Sid's own identity is one that's built around winning. Ultimate winner, serial winner. The guy who's won literally everything there is to win in the sport. But, where it gets a little bit tricky is that you can't take it too far. If Muse wanted to be that guy who just said, listen, we're going to be all about cutting down our goals against. We're going to be that team that is hell to play against in the defensive zone. We're going to be all over you. We're going to be expending more energy in the back end than we are up front. Guess what? That's not great for development either. And it's all got to go hand in hand. So if you want to make Ville Koivunen a more responsible defensive forward, if you want to do that for Rutger McGroarty, if you want to do that for Tanner Howe, anybody else that comes along at some point, go right ahead and do that. But do it on the side. Don't leash them. Don't restrain them. One of the things that I'm positive that Kyle Dubas has picked up on in his time in Pittsburgh is that in Pittsburgh, you're not going to get away with skating backward. You're not going to get away with wiggling your stick in the neutral zone and waiting. If only because the public's not going to have any patience for it. And remember, you still do have to sell the product. The product in our city for a very, very, very long time has been an excessively entertaining one. It also, more importantly, happens to have been a very successful one. So around here, we equate the entertaining with the 5 Stanley Cups. I tried with Muse back at his introductory press conference to get something from him that was even a hint, a trace of what his system might be like. Taylor Haas, our beat writer, went through his writings and his many experiences at other levels, and there isn't anything definitive. I don't know that we're going to see something definitive in training camp. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think we're going to hear anything from him definitive in camp. You'll have to see it. It's going to be playing out in front of you there. But my guess right now is that it's not going to be something that goes to one extreme or to the other. I've shared with you already that this team's goal for the coming season will be to make the Stanley Cup playoffs, to get back to the playoffs. I've also shared with you my thinking that the development goals align with that perfectly. Why? Well, you're not going to overcompensate in one direction or the other. Let your skilled kids go rushing up front and make skilled plays. Let the veteran guys, the great ones, do the things that they've done. But also understand and respect that there's got to be, for the team's goal of making the playoffs and the franchise's overarching goal of development, there's got to be responsibility. There's got to be defending. There's got to be taking care of business Boko Imama style. This isn't going to happen overnight. especially not with a new head coach. At least whether you liked or didn't like Mike Sullivan or his system or anything else, you knew what it was. They knew what it was. And everybody knew what they were supposed to be doing. This is a clean slate. Everybody from Sid down. It's a clean slate. And that goes for Muse, too. He's never been in a situation like this. He's never been in anything close to a situation like this. Being an NHL assistant coach isn't being an NHL head coach. And not that anyone would or should care, but what I would recommend is something that's, kind of vanilla. Make sure that it's really, really, really clear what you want. Forecheck, backcheck, neutral zone, special teams. And from there, especially if it succeeds early on, start picking out the parts that jump out to you as a head coach and say, all right, now that's kind of what I'm expecting from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let me put this another way. The Florida Panthers didn't develop their identity, the thing that they are now, overnight. That happened over a pretty significant period of time if you retrace the respective careers of Alexander Barkov and Aaron Ekblad and other guys that have been down there forever. But you could argue that it really didn't mature into anything until Jonathan Marchessault was traded to Calgary for Matthew Tkachuk. And from there, it was incumbent on the head coach, once that became Paul Maurice, to see it, recognize it, and embrace it. And say, hey, listen, this is who we are. We're a bunch of jerks. We enjoy, as Maurice said in one visit to Pittsburgh just last year, we enjoy coming into somebody else's arena and having the crowd get all over us. That's great for us. It just gets us going. Maurice had coached in the league a long, long time and had never spoken any such thing. He adjusted. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Jack Delaney, who says, thanks for everything you do, DK. Do you think that the Arturs Silovs edition pretty much destroys any shot that Sergei Murashov will have at potentially getting an NHL look this year? No, I don't, Jack. And I have two very different ways to explain why. The first is, with or without Silovs, the main thing that Murashov was going to have to overcome was a lack of experience in North America, and specifically in the American Hockey League, where he was only part of 16 games. Now, he was good there. Went 12-3, 2.64 goals against, .913 save percentage, and a shutout in those 16 games. But we're talking about 16 games. And as I said at the time that Kyle Dubas made, it wasn't super dramatic or anything, but he did declare that it was going to be an open goaltending competition in camp. There was no way Murashov was going to have the same status within that competition, because there was always going to be, and there should be, a concern that he just hasn't had enough seasoning. So if the second NHL goaltender was going to be Silovs, or if it was going to be Alex Nedeljkovic, that wasn't going to change anything about Murashov's experience level. Now, the other reason that I said no with the intonation that I did is that you used the term potentially getting an NHL look this year. If you're a young athlete in any team sport, in any league, the one thing that you covet the most is an opportunity. You want a chance to be seen. You want a chance to shine. Nothing, my friends, is going to stop Murashov from getting that this year. That's going to begin in the Prospect Challenge that starts in just a couple of weeks in Buffalo. That's going to continue into training camp, where he and Joel Blomqvist are going to see a lot of ice. It's going to continue into the preseason, where they're going to see a lot of action against NHL or semi-NHL opponents in NHL arenas. I'm not going to sit here and script out how many minutes in the crease Murashov's going to get, but I don't think he'll get less than Joel Blomqvist does, and I don't know that he'll get less than Silovs does, and I don't know that he'll get less than even Tristan Jarry does. So here again, I point back to the beginning of what you brought up, and that's the notion that Silovs' addition pretty much destroys, using your word again, a shot that Murashov will have. No. Outplay everybody. Murashov's 21 years old. Matt Murray won a Stanley Cup with the Penguins, his first one, when he was 22. Murashov's listed frame this past season was 6'2", 172. Typical young, skinny goalie. I don't know what he's going to be in a couple of weeks when I see him for the first time, but let's hope that he's had some cheeseburgers in the interim. Blomqvist's only a year older. He spent time in the NHL this past season. So no, don't see this as something that buries Murashov, especially as it relates to who opens the season in Pittsburgh. Because I can promise you that at least some of that's going to be influenced by wanting to see Silovs, as they should, coming off the season that he just had in the Vancouver organization, and respecting what Jari did down the stretch for them in the last time that they played real games. There's a lot of hockey ahead of that. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.